I get I get nervous every time I'm about to teach. I don't know what it is. I've been teaching for years, and I still get this feeling in my stomach every time I'm about to teach. And I want to I don't know, I do everything I possibly can not to feel this way, but it's always the same feeling. I don't want to make a mistake when I'm teaching you guys. I really don't. I want you to know something. I want you to know that I'm doing what I'm doing because I love what I do. I love what I do. This is what I've always loved doing. I've always loved being a teacher, whether it be in business, whether it be in, finance, real estate, counseling, coaching. I've been doing this my whole entire life. And I guess I always get that feeling because I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to give out bad information. And I know that you guys can appreciate that. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started. I don't want to have, a monologue on how I feel because that's not gonna be able to help you. Okay, that's not gonna help you in your life. What's gonna help us in our lives is finding out what did the Most High tell us. What did He say to us that would cause us to become better people? That's the goal. Last week we opened up talking about what the command was for us about the Shema of Yisrael. Hopefully you wrote it down. That was the first part of the Shema, what they call the Shema, but it's really Shema. It's a command. And it's telling us how we are supposed to look at the Most High as being one, meaning unified in thought and unified in everything that he does. So he's not split. He's not going to, change his mind about what he said. We're also supposed to testify to the fact that there's only one Elohim. And apparently, his people are having a problem with this. Okay. The second part of the Shema, let me go ahead and put someone on. I'm hearing some feedback. The other part of the Shema, everyone, is going to be there's a part two to it. And that part two is what you see right here. It's still the ideal of being a command. Okay. And it's commanding our being. First, it was just telling us about who the Most High is, about being Echad. And there's a whole nother, thing that we could talk about when we talk about being Echad. We've gone over it before in the past. Well, today I wanted to kind of open up with a little bit about the Shema again. This is part two of it that you can write down for yourselves. I'm not going to be real quick to go through it. I just want to bring out some highlights of the point because the first part is that we should know that our Elohim is one, and the second part is that we have what they call a command to love Yah, right? To love Yahweh, your power with all of your mind. Okay, I have changed the word down here and it said a tamed mind. That word tamed means all in Hebrew. Okay, and it's highlighted in purple. So you could, and it's called the word is called kol. That's how you say it. You say kol. So what it's telling us is that Yahweh wants us to love him. This is a command that we are to do for the Most High. We are to ahavta et Yahweh. So this is how you say it in Hebrew. I put it in its transliteration for you and transliterated it for you. And I also translated it. Transliteration is basically taking the Hebrew letters that you have up here and putting them in English letters so you can understand or how you could speak it or you can say it. Okay. So I don't want you to at this point try to learn how to understand how to, recognize these letters at this point, but I do want you to know how to say it. And you can. You could write this down. Vahavta. That means and to love. And then it tells you this et. And all this et right here is telling you that I'm pointing an arrow where that love should be directed towards. And that love is going to be directed towards Yohewahe, which is your power. He's your Eloheka. He's your power. Your is that ka right here, and the power is the Elohe ka, Elohe right here. That's your power. And so there's a love that he wants from you. And what he wants us to do this with and how we to do it, he instructs us on how to love him. And to love him is with something. And with that, with is a tamed mind. And that's what you have right here with the Vokol Lavavika. Okay. That's your Vokol Lavavika, which is with right here, your Vokol Lavavika. That means with a tamed mind. Again, in English, it would say all. But that's not really explaining to you what he's telling us because we really don't know what all is. We're thinking it could be anything for any of us. It could be, what you think is all. You would think all would be just how you feel at that moment and what you've given up until this point. But that's not necessarily true. A lot of us are under the understanding that we have given him everything and that we love him with everything, with all of it. And that's because we've been trained or we've been tamed by people who don't know what this means. Okay. So it's important for us to understand what it means if you and I are going to follow the command. Now, I'm not here to tell you or force you. This right here, this part of the Shema right here is not forced. This is something that has to come from within. Okay. And so the taming of one's mind is something that the individual will have to do themselves. That's what's going to have to do yourself. Okay. Meaning like not that you understand it, because of course we don't really know what is expected of us until we're taught. Okay. So like any animal, like a sheep or an oxen or anything that's part of a flock or even a dog or a cat or whatever it may be, it has to be tamed. It has to be tamed. It has to be domesticated. So it would be able to follow the instructions. So the Most High has given us his words in order to tame us, in order to bring that about. But it has to be a willingness. The animal that you could try to tame, you could train it, but eventually it's going to either follow the way that you've been trying to train it, or it's going to continue to be resistant and reluctant to follow the instructions and the training, just like a child. Okay. So this taming is found in the word chol right here. Okay. So as you can see in the Shema, it's always all chol this, chol that. I need you to v'chol your lavavika. I need you to v'chol your nafshecha, which is your soul. I need you to v'chol. I mean, I want all. I want the tameness of all your abundance of your resources. So why is he asking for all of it? Why is he asking for us to do this? Because you and I cannot follow the Most High without being tamed. You can't follow him without being tamed. We can't follow the instructions without the shepherd staff. That letter here is the shepherd staff. And it means to lead, it means to guide, it means to instruct, it means to discipline, it means a yoke. And so the idea behind this is preparing us to get ready to do the work that the Most High wants us to do. I'm not taming you just so I can tame you, so I control you. Okay. The word for control is found in here, this cough, which is the palm of the hand. That's what that first letter is. It's the palm of the hand in Hebrew. And this one is a staff. So you got a staff in the hand, right? And so the staff is in the hand in order to control. You're controlling the staff and you're controlling something or someone, okay? So you're preparing it to get it ready in order for it to do what you wanted to do. This is why this is the greatest command. This is found all in the book of Deuteronomy, all over the place. He uses it all the time when he's instructing the children of Israel before they go into the land. He's always Shema Yisrael, Shema Yisrael. Listen, all this, that, this is what he wants. But if we're not willing to do it, if we're not willing to tame our appetites and our desires, talking about your literal stomach, see, everything has shifted away from being physical and spiritual. They've now just chopped off the physical piece, and all they're doing now is just talking about the spiritual piece. And we've been trained by these people that are very spooky, and all they want to talk about is the spirit. They don't want to include the body. They don't want to include the responsibility of the stomach. They don't want to include that. They don't want to include what you look at. They don't want to include your emotions, because they're going to say that you don't have the ability to do what the Most High is asking you to do with all of your being. That's who you are. That's the life of you. Your appetites, your emotions, your desires are all connected to your soul. See? And you say, well, I thought my soul was just something I couldn't see. No, your soul is who you really are. You're playing out whatever it is that your soul wants to do. You're using your body to make it happen. So if you desire chocolate cake, your soul wants chocolate cake, you're going to go find some chocolate cake. And the way it tastes to you is going to make your soul feel good. And he says if your soul desires meat and you want to eat some steak, you go find a steak and you go get the medium. You know what I'm saying? And you go get the best. You go get the filet mignon. If wine makes you feel a certain way, you're going to drink that wine, and it's going to make you feel a certain way. That's a desire, and it's connected to your soul. So we're using our bodies, our being, in order to satisfy our souls. So what the Most High is saying is that what I need you to do in order to follow me effectively, in order for you to be the person that I need you to be for me, then you have to be tamed. You have to allow me to tame you. You have to give in to the instruction. See? And this idea of the abundance of resources, those are physical resources. So the Most High, what he's done, everyone, is he's provided us with a whole bunch of resources. In the case of being in the land, we had the abundance of rivers and waters and streams and hills and grain and fruits and vegetables and wine and oil and everything. He said, you had the abundance of all things. But you didn't take those things that I gave you and you didn't give them to me. You didn't show that you love me with those things because you become stingy. You would fight over things. You would, cheat your neighbor out of their resources. You will move the markers on the lands. You will watch the widow and the fatherless starve and not give them. You would forsake the Levite in the land. They didn't get any inheritance, and it's your land. It's because you're benefiting off of it. And I told you, I'm speaking what the Most High has said to us. He told us that we are supposed to give to the Levite the tenth, the tithe, in order for them to survive for the work that they've done for him. And out of all of our resources, we forgot the Most High. We forgot to give him the praise and the honor and the worship by the things that we've done with our own hands. So this is all connected. So now our resources have changed. Now we don't have the resources of the actual land. We have the resources now of the very thing that the Most High wants us to have more of a value on, and that is the Torah. Now what we have is the very words of the living Elohim that's in our hands, that we're supposed to pick up with our hands. The very work that we used to do in the fields is the work that we should be doing in the Torah. How we used to look upon the orchards and the land and the increase and the harvest. Now we're supposed to be looking at the words of the Most High and derive the harvest from there, so we can build ourselves up, so we can become tame, so we can be used by the Most High Yah. So I wanted to share this with you, and hopefully you've been writing it down, okay, where you can learn what is it that the Most High is expecting of you. Is to be tamed. That's it. So, Wahavta et Yahweh Eloheka, et Evikol Levavika, and Uvakol Nafshika, and Uvakol Meodika. First part is Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Part two, Vahavta, that means to love et Yahweh Eloheka, the Kol Levavika, and Uvakol, and all of the taming of the soul, and all of the taming of all the abundance of the resources that have been prepared and ready to be able to give Yah from what he has given you. This is the key to understanding. And this is the foundation from we're working from today. In your Haftarah, our king, Dawid, had said something to his son before he was dying. Our Torah portion was talking about Yaakov before he was dying. And so in both instances, they both wanted to convey the message to their sons. And the sons that they conveyed this information to are the ones who have the ability to carry out what it is that they wanted them to do. One of the words or one of the things that Dawid said to Shlomo that was pretty striking was the fact that he wanted to remind him, as we're going to see about Yaakov, that he wanted to remind him about what Yah had said to him. He wanted to pass that on to his son. He didn't talk about all the wealth that he had. He didn't talk about the land. He didn't talk about the gold. He didn't talk about the silver. He didn't talk about, you know, his life. He didn't talk about none of those things. Yaakov didn't talk about nothing about his life. He didn't mention anything in context of all of his sufferings. What he did mention was how the Most High was part of his life. Our Torah portion opened up talking about this is his life. Wahi, or Vahi, means and he lived. That's the name of your Torah portion. Vahi, and he lived. It talked about how Jacob lived, and then also in that same chapter it said, and Israel lived 17 years in Mizraim. Above that, it said Jacob lived in the land of Mizraim for 17 years. So it mentions both Jacob and Yisrael at the same time. Why? Because there's something that you and I are supposed to understand about this. Our father Jacob had a very terrible life. Jacob, his life was very challenging. He had a lot of people do a lot of things to him. And yet, through it all, through all of his suffering, through all the lies, through all the deception, through all the betrayal, he was still holding on to the Most High. And that's what you and I are supposed to see. Okay. Now, Dawid had told Shlomo, he said, pay attention. If he said, the Most High said, if you pay attention, if your children pay attention to how they live, and they're conducting themselves before me honestly, and that word honestly is called emet, and it means truth. Okay. With all, again, that word kol, okay, with a tamed heart and being, you will never lack a man upon the throne of Israel. And as you and I both know, there has lacked a man on the throne of Israel. And the reason why is because this man, Shlomo, did not listen to what his father had said. He didn't listen. He stumbled along the way. As you can see in all the different sons of Israel, they start off really, really good and then they fall. Okay? Everyone does. This is what has been happening. But I want to let you know that moving forward, because we learn from our past, we have to look at what were the mistakes that were made in the past so you and I won't repeat them. Okay? The key here is that we're supposed to conduct our lives in a way that's truthful. Okay? Because even Dawid said in one of his Psalms, hey, you still want, even though I'm born in sin, even though I'm shaped in iniquity, even though I'm a sinner and I've committed a crime, you still want truth. You still want that emet. You still want that in the inner person. And when I looked at that word inner, it's not talking about one's mind. It's not talking about that part of us. It didn't even use the word soul. It used a word called tukah, and tukah means the deepest, deepest part of you. This is even past your appetites and your desires. See, what we have on the outside and what people see is not who we really are. We have a facade. We have a plaster. That's all they can see. Like when you look at a house, you look at that house and say, "Oh, what a beautiful home." From the outside, the yard is manicured and is beautiful, and automatically you would think that the inside everything is going well because we look on the outside. The Most High looks on the inside. So on the outside of us, we appear to be okay. We don't look sick. We don't, we're not acting sick. You don't see any signs, any signals of anything that's wrong. But there's things that are definitely wrong with us that only you and the Most High know about. Other people can't see it. And that is the area that the Most High is looking for truth in. And so Dawid wanted to know how to achieve wisdom so he can understand this. So I would be able to understand what's wrong with me. We have to seek Yah to find out what's wrong with us. Humanity cannot help you. Your husband cannot help you. Your wife cannot help you. Your mother, your father, these individuals, your cousins, your lover, your job, your boss, whoever, your best friend, your admirers, your people who are your followers on Instagram or whatever, they can't help you. This is something that goes really, really deep. And so, in order for us to tap in to this place, we are going to have to ask Yah to show us and make it known to us so we can ask the right questions. Because when Dawid was asking for this wisdom, what he was asking for was that he would be able to ask the right questions to the Most High, because the Most High is the one who knows us. Often we spend our time talking to people who don't know us and wasting time, wasting energy, wasting our lives, wasting our vaki, the way that we live. We're spinning our wheels, and we're not getting any further because we haven't taken the time to acknowledge that we are sinners. We haven't acknowledged the fact that there's things about us that need to be dealt with because we have this facade. We put this facade on. We put this look on. We dress a certain way. We look a certain way. We got our hair done. We got a certain job. We drive a certain kind of car. When we're around people, we're laughing, we're smiling, and we're having a good time, and people are admiring you for your accomplishments. And the whole time, there's something that's wrong with you. They don't know it, and unfortunately, you don't know it. What he's talking about when he says the truth, and when he's talking about emet, and he's talking about honesty, he's saying that he wants to bring us to a place where we're certain about our relationship with him. Because this is what Yah wants. He doesn't want a heart that's going to lie. He doesn't want a mind. He doesn't want an inner being, a soul that's operating in uncertainty about him. He wants us to be certain about this walk, that we're with him. We have to be certain and faithful to the fact that we know that we can trust him. And because we can trust him, we know that the way that we're living is living in the lines of that which is true. We're not living lies. We're not living a life as a facade. We're not trying to put makeup on it. We're not trying to disguise it. We're not trying to cover it. We're not trying to overlook it. It's quick to just overlook the problems that we have and just be dismissive about what's wrong with us. But Yah is saying that certainty is where it's at. And the only way that we can get that certainty is we have to ask the Most High for wisdom to ask the right questions so you and I can be able to make the changes that we need to make. Your Torah portion, our father, Yaakov, has said to his son, swear it to me. And he swore it to him. Then Israel bowed at the head of his bed, and this was in your Torah portion. Why is this important? Because he asked his son to do something for him. He said, sure, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. He said, yeah, I'll do it. That wasn't satisfactory. Our Father wanted him to swear it. He wanted to make sure that he understood that you're going to have to keep your word, which you see on your right side of the screen here called Devar. The reason why he wanted him to do this is because if he didn't swear it, that means it was open for it not to be done. That means that it could actually be disannulled or made void. Just talking to the Most High or just saying things is not good enough for the Most High. We're a people that if you and I say something, we're going to have to swear it. We have to live by our word. And the reason why we have to live by our word is because the Most High is living by his word. And if you and I are going to be in alignment with him, we're going to have to swear what we say we're going to do. We just can't say it. We have to make a promise to the Most High. See? So a word, a devar, basically means to speak, but it's really not just speaking, it's really saying a promise about a matter or a thing in which one is supposed to fulfill. We could do all the talking we want to. A matter of fact, that's where a lot of our, I would say our resources are, I would say our assets are our words. We have more words than we have money. We have more words than we have silver and gold. We use our words every single day of our lives. And we're just talking and talking and talking and talking. And often when we're talking, it's empty. Doesn't mean anything. The words that need to be spoken, the words that the Most High wants to hear from us are words that are sworn. Yah is tired of the talk. He wants to know that you and I understand that if we make a promise to him, we're going to fulfill it and we're going to keep it. Just like Yaakov, just like David. Yah swore to Yaakov that he was going to make him fruitful and numerous. Yah swore to our fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that they would receive a possession of a land that the Most High promised. And that was going to be a gift to them. Some call it a blessing. It's a gift. It's literally a gift because that's what blessing means. It means to bend the knee and to offer someone a gift. And we get confused because we want the blessing to be everything other than what the Most High said he's willing to give. Why is it that the Most High, when he says that he's going to make us fruitful and numerous, that to us is not a big deal? Why do we want more than what the Most High said he's going to give us? There's no more to be given. There's no more than the land. That's where we find all of our resources. That's where we'll find our abundance. That's where we'll find our safety. That's where we'll find our wealth. That's where we'll find our health. Everything is found in the land. And we have people today that don't want this. They want to go live up in the heavens with the Most High. They don't want to live in the earth that he created for them. They don't want the gift that the Most High wants to give to our family. They don't want it. David, the Most High made a promise to him, saying that I'm going to give you descendants, sons. They're going to sit upon your throne. That's what he promises. That's what he swore to him. He made a promise to him. And the Most High is going to make sure that it's fulfilled. See? So these are the areas that we need to focus on. We need to stop thinking about the abstract, about, all this other stuff that the Most High ain't never mentioned. He ain't never mentioned to you that I'm going to promise you that you're going to live on this earth forever. He said, I'll let you live a long life, depending on who you are. But there's no promise for that. There's no promise for that. There's no promises outside of what the Most High said. So he's telling us, be careful about what you're talking about. You see, because the Most High has sworn these things to Yaakov and David and Abraham. These are the things that we need to focus on. We don't need to be focused on things that don't appertain to this. You see, we spend more time talking about prophecies than we do about what the promises are. We're getting lost of what I would say in the sauce. We need to focus on the promise. We need to focus on the gift that Yah gave to us. Okay. Most High said that Israel was a luxuriant vine, freely putting forth fruit. This is important. In your Torah portion, these three individuals are mentioned. And again, we're talking about fulfill, the gift, and nullify. Okay. Again, the fulfilling, it has to do with the promise. The nullifying is to void the promise. And I have to show you why it's important that these three individuals are mentioned and what's the significance of it. Okay. They're all connected. So we can get focused on what is the fruit. What is it? Okay. Again, Joseph, what did he do? The Most High said, or his father told him, hey, don't say you're going to do anything for me. I need you to swear it. Okay. He gave, and the reason why he's asking him to do this, okay, is to swear is because he's the only one who had the power to keep the promise. You don't swear to people or ask anybody to swear something to you that you know that they don't have the power to do. Going back to the fact that you and I should never swear something to the Most High, and you don't have the power and you don't have the ability to perform it or to fulfill it. When someone makes a promise to you or I, you have to make sure that they have the ability to be able to perform and have the power to keep their promise. This has been the problem with us. Yah has empowered us to be able to keep the promise. So we see that we didn't keep it because not that we didn't have the power. We thought that we could just swear something and just think that we're just talking to someone and it's all going to be forgotten. We think that we could do wrong and say things and no one's ever going to bring it back to our attention. We think we're going to utter words before the King of the heavens and the earth, before all the Malachim, the Seraphim, and the Malachim, and the Govarim, and the Ophanim, and the Seraphim, and all these Kodashim, and you and I think that we can speak to him and not be able to perform the promise. We have to keep our word. Joseph could not swear this unless he had the power. His father did not called him first before all of his brothers. This is a whole other thing in chapter number 48. He didn't begin to talk to his other sons until chapter number 49. You and I are to understand that you cannot have someone swear to you to something that they don't have the power to keep. Like making a vow to the Most High that you cannot have the power to keep. The person who has the power is the one who has the authority. They're the only ones who can fulfill what has been spoken. Case in point. When the Most High, we swore to him and we talked to him, he gave us the power to be able to keep the promise, and we have the authority to do what he's asked us to do in order to fulfill what he wants to be done. There's no one else that the Most High spoke to in the whole entire planet out of all the families on the earth except for our family. So when he's saying, I'm calling you to speak to you, Dawid did not call any of his other sons. He called the one who had the power. He called the one who had the ability and authority to fulfill what it was that he said. Information is only passed on to the people who have the ability to perform it. So we're to learn that you and I are not going to just be talking to just anybody from our perspective. When you leave this earth, you have to make sure that you're talking to the right person, not the right people. You understand? That's why in these courts, they have the executor, the person who's supposed to pull the trigger. You can't have too many people doing everything. It has to be the person that you trust and the person who has the power and authority to fulfill your desires. So there is a purpose by him calling Yosef. He's the one who has proven himself to be worthy of doing this because he has the power, he has the authority. So when he said, hey, I want you to take me back to my land, I want you to bury me in the cave of Machpelah, His other sons didn't have that power. They couldn't go to Pharaoh. They could have, but more than likely, they didn't have that influence that Joseph had. Ephraim. As you notice in his name, I have highlighted in orange a couple of letters, a Phra. It's called Thra. Okay. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. That's not a mistake. Okay. That is the root of his name. Okay. The letter E there means I, the Fra means fruitful, and then E means very fruitful. Okay. But Ephraim is the younger one. He's the insignificant son. He's the youngest baby out of Joseph's sons. He's the one who was chosen, the one chosen to convey the power and authority of the family to this in particular son. This is a gift that was given to him. He was the one that was chosen by Yaakov, by Yisrael. Okay. Manasseh, he's the older, and there's a negative connotation that goes around his name. Okay. And as we've discussed before, the name Manasseh has a negative connotation. Every time you hear this name, it's supposed to remind you of toil, because that's when his father named him. He said, may I forget my toil. May I forget what my family did to me. May I forget my household. May the Most High cause me to forget. So his name has to do with forgetting. So every time Yosef would call upon Manasseh, it is a reminder about how hard his labor was, what he suffered, and how he's supposed to forget his affliction, and how he's supposed to forget his family about what they did to him. The reason why Yisrael is choosing Ephraim is because Manasseh's name and what his character is and what it's a reminder of would nullify the promise that's supposed to be passed on, the blessing. Ephraim is the one who's supposed to bring the fruitfulness to the family. And he understands this. Okay. But I want to show you something in the text. Okay. I have titled it The Divine Clues. In my studies, I found divine clues within the Hebrew language that tells us more than what's on the pages in English. Okay. It's not hard. You just have to be looking for it. Okay. So Yaakov is using what you would call prudence here. Okay. He's using his wisdom, his knowledge, and his understanding. Wisdom, of course, is the power to ask questions. Knowledge is through visual observation. So he's seeing something. His understanding is saying, I got the skill to know how to build. That's what understanding means. So I have to ask the right questions based on what I see. And then I see some things, and then I decide on how I'm going to use my skill to build. That's what wisdom, knowledge, and understanding mean. But there are some divine clues that were found inside of the Torah portion this week that will help us understand what it is on how and why Yaakov chose Ephraim versus Manasseh, not just because of the name. That wasn't enough. There was a whole bunch of other things that were found in there. Okay. Yaakov said to Yosef, El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, saying to me, I will make you fruitful. That word right there is mafrika. So when I say I will make you fruitful, that is, I will cause you to become fruitful. And the word for that would be mafrika, like Africa, but mafrika. Mafrika. Mafrika and means and numerous. So why is he mentioning this to him? Remember, he's sick, he's about to die, but he's mentioning this. Okay. And he doesn't use the word Yohe he uses the word El Shaddai. El Shaddai, everyone, is the power, and then of course the Shaddai are the breast. Okay, the Shad, the Shad right here is a breast. Okay, the Shaddai are breast, right? Meaning two, right? So is the Most High a God of breasts that you see some of these images? No, he's not. What he's talking about is the El Shaddai is the one who is the one who provides sustenance. Is the one who's able to nurse and make sure that whatever is born survives. Okay. like the two breasts, like a child would latch on. Meaning, like if a baby was to cry out, the mother would stop dropping milk from her breast immediately. And she would know that that was her child's cry. And she'll be able to give them what they need to satisfy their hunger, give them sustenance to bring them to satisfaction. So he mentions this, okay? And he uses the term mafrika, fruitful. This is prior to him putting out his blessing. He's giving a little context about his life, okay? So El Shaddai means the power of the breast. And every time you see this word El Shaddai, it's always surrounded about how much or how fruitful something is. Like when you look in the book of Genesis, chapter number 20, I think 26, when Yitzchak was, it said he brought 100 times more. El Shaddai was with him because everything that he accomplished was just a very bountiful. So that's what El Shaddai means. Okay. The second clue, so that was clue number one. Okay. So he's telling Joseph this before he blesses and even conveys this onto the sons. The second clue is the fact that he says, now as for me, when I came out of Padan, okay, Raquel died suddenly, and we were traveling through the land of Canaan while we were still some distance from Ephrat. So I buried her there on the way to Ephrat, known as Bethlehem. Okay, Bethlehem, meaning the house of bread. Okay, that's what that means. That means the house of bread or the house of grain. Okay, so he's giving him more clues before he conveys his blessing because he knows what he's about to do. He knows that he's not going to bless the older. He knows he's going to bless the younger. Okay, he knows this, but he hasn't told that or showed or demonstrated that to his son Yosef yet. So he's given him a little bit more context about his life. And so he's sharing all these intimate details about his life. He's talking about where his mother died. He's also mentioning at the place where she died. And we were thinking, okay, well, of course, this is doesn't have any significance, but it does. Because Ephrat is connected to the word Ephraim. You can see it right here. Ephra, like Ephraim. Remember, I told you to watch the PHRA, Fra. Okay. They're just using an F instead of the PH. Fra. Like if I was to put an E in front of that, it'd be Ephra. That's Ephrat. Okay. So you can see Ephra, Ephraim. Okay. So over here you have the free. What they did was they put the F there, what is really a PH, Frika. A PHR. That's the fra again. Here's that fra again. Here's that fra again. So that's another clue. So he's letting him know about the place Ephrat. And of course, that has to do with grain. It has to do with bountifulness. Okay. And finally, here was another clue that was amazing. He says, but Yisrael put out his right hand and he laid it on the head of the younger one, which is Ephraim. So there you go, that Ephra again. Here's the Ephra, Ephra, Ephra. See, it's all there, right? And he says, and he put his left hand on the head of Manasseh. He intentionally crossed his hands, even though Manasseh was his firstborn. The other part of the clue was his right hand. When Raquel died, she named that child Ben Oni, meaning the son of my sorrow. What did Yaakov do? What name did he give him? What name did he give to his last son? Benjamin. And Benjamin means my son of my right hand. The son of my right hand. That is the son of my power. So the conveyance of power and the conveyance of to the son would be the one who's going to be on the right hand. Okay. And in this case, when he's making reference to his right hand, he remembers about his right hand. He's making a connection between Raquel when she died in the place that he made. So all these are all the divine clues that he has. And so now he has wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to know that I need to cross my hands. This is what caused him to cross his hands, are these divine clues to tell him who it was supposed to receive this. It's not just because Monashay's name. Monashay was the firstborn. So it's not just his name alone that would nullify it, but it's also everything else that has happened in this man's life, in his vaki, in his life. Okay, that's the name of your Torah portion, right? So what does it mean when he says he crossed his hands? The word that they're using right there was very interesting. Hope you can see the clues. The crossing of his hands have to do with this idea of the Hebrew word called sakal. Okay. That's when it says he crossed his hands. That word there is called sakal. And sakal means using prudence. It means one who is very cautious and very circumspect of something, very wary about things, right? Very careful about the decision, not willing to take a risk. That's what this word means. So when one is using wisdom and they're using what they call sakal, it means that they're literally very careful and cautious about the decision that they're making. So when Yosef saw this, he's like, no, no, don't do that, don't do that. And he's like, Yadati vani yadati, meaning I know, son, I know. That's what he said. That's why I have it right here, Yadati vani, meaning that I know, son, I know. What does he know? What he understood by this call, meaning his wisdom and his circumspect and his unwillingness to take a chance or a risk. He couldn't risk this. He wanted to make sure that the family line was going to be successful. He couldn't leave it in the hands of individuals that were not able to execute it. So when he had those experiences with Ephratah, or he had the experience at Padan Aram, he had the experience when the Most High said that he was going to make them fruitful. So he started putting all the pieces together, right? Started asking some himself questions, started looking at these things. He had a whole bunch of time to do this in his life. And at the end of his life, he came to the conclusion that, guess what? I'm going to use what I've learned over my life in order for me to make a decision, in order to make sure that the family's going to be successful. Okay. So Sakal has to do with success, and it has to do with understanding things, especially when you and I, whatever endeavor that you and I set our hearts out to do, we're going to need Sakal. Okay. And he understood this. He knew this. Yada. Yada means I know, right? Yada T, yada T. I know, I know. I know this, son. I know this. Okay. So the success there is when Yosef saw this, his father refused. Okay. And he said, I know, my son, I know it. Yada T, vani, yada T, I know. He too will become a people. He too will be great. Nevertheless, his youngest brother will be greater than he, and his descendants will grow into many nations. This idea about the younger brother kind of reminds you that when his mother told him what the Most High had told her, that the younger will be greater than the older, he also knows that too. So all what's going on in his life is not just the time that he was in Canaan, not just the time when he was leaving Padan Aram, it's even prior to that. He's understanding that this, in order for this family to be successful, I have to follow these divine clues in order to lead me to the right person in order for that to come about. So he refuses to remove his hand because he understood the significance of that decision, okay, by using Sakal. When I highlighted here, his descendants, talking about Manasseh, his descendants will grow into many nations. We heard a text in the book of Hosea that says that Ephraim has mixed itself with um, many peoples, and of course we think that that means that Israel is going to be completely mixed, which is true. They are going to be mixed. They're going to be a half-baked cake, like he says, but that wasn't Yahweh's intention. This text right here is kind of misguiding us because of how the English language works. What he's really talking about is that he's going to fill the nations with his descendants. That's what it is. It's not he's going to grow into many nations. He's actually going to fill in those nations. He's not going to become many nations. This is where people get it wrong, because now you got the people that are in the Netherlands and Greenland and Iceland and Europe and all these other places. They're saying that they're the children of Israel because they read this wrong, because they want this to say what they wanted to say. And that's the reason why they wrote this, because saying, well, Israel's scattered all over the place, so they've mixed with everybody. That wasn't Yah's intention. That was never his intention for them to grow into all these other nations, to become many nations. That's not the goal of the Most High. Well, it's actually antithetical to what we understand because in the book of Nehemiah, they were actually condemned. And also in the book of Hosea, for what? For having foreign children. The most, and he had to put those children out of the community because they weren't the children of Israel. You understand? He had the mothers from all these other nations. So, that's a whole nother study. We'll get into that later. Okay. But here it says that they're going to grow into many nations. That's not true. They are going to go and fill many nations. They're not going to grow into many nations. They're going to grow in those nations. See, so it's how you understand it. Okay. So we have to use some sakal here. We have to use some prudence. We have to use some examination and some wisdom by looking at how it was written and how it was to be understood. The word for grow right there is not grow. It's really called male. And male or malo means to fill. They're going to go fill the nations. Okay. Then he added this blessing on them that day, talking about the sons. He said, Israel, the family, will speak of you, talking to both of those sons in their own blessings by saying, May Elohim make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Then he put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Why? Because he understood that if it is going to be a family that's going to be blessed and a family that's going to be increased, in order to line up with everything that's been promised through the word that the Most High has given, the individual has to meet the requirements. Ephraim meets those requirements, Manasseh doesn't. The younger should serve the older. The older should serve the younger. The younger shall be greater than he. That goes back to Israel. That goes back to the name that was conveyed unto Jacob, saying that, hey, he's going to be greater. Jacob only became greater when his name was changed. I hope everyone understands this. He was the younger that got chosen. So he understands this. He has to call. He understands. He carefully examined this. He knows that the younger here is going to be greater. And the reason why he's going to be greater is because his name demands him to be greater. Which one do you think is going to be greater? The one whose name means I'm fruitful, or the one that says I will forget? Which one? It's pretty straightforward. So he saw that and he understood that. So there's nothing magical about that. Okay. It's divine. The last part of this of Sakal is to understand, like when David was talking to his son and conveying information to him, right? Because this is what it is. The father's telling his son something. He said, observe the charge of Yahweh, your Elohim, to go in his ways, keep his regulations, his mitzvot, which is commandments, regulations, and testimonies, in accordance with what is written in the Torah of Moshe, so that you will succeed in all that you do whenever you turn towards or wherever you set your heart to do. So the idea of our endeavors is anything that you and I are involved in, we should be looking for success. But the only way that you and I are going to find that success is when it's found in the Torah. That's the only way it's going to ever be. If this is being spoken to the king by a king to another king, his son, and passing on, conveying information, conveying the word of the promise to the other ones, he's telling him what the Most High wants him to know. That the only way you're going to succeed is through keeping in accordance with that which is written in the Torah of Moshe. Our success and our sakal is only going to be found through the Torah. The Torah is what causes you to become wise. The Torah causes you to consider things and give careful examination to it. It causes you to look under the surface and go to the deeper layers. The Torah is the one that causes you to get the wisdom to ask the right questions. The Torah is the one that opens your eyes so you can see the difference between things. You understand? So you can be able to understand it. See? And of course, after David had told Shlomo this in your Haftarah, he begins to give him a hit list to tell him all the things that, he wanted him to remember about the people that did him wrong. He didn't say that, hey, I want you to forgive them. I want you to make sure that you just forget what they did to you or what they did to me. I want you to use wisdom. I want you to understand that they have to be dealt with. Okay. And he mentions a few people. I don't have time to go through it today. You can read the story and find out that David literally put a hit on all those people. Why? Because he wanted to bring about justice. He wanted to bring about what was right right? And so, we also see in our Torah portion where Jacob's sons were concerned, Yaakov's sons were concerned about whether or not Joseph was going to put a hit on them after their father died. See? So they were concerned about that. And so there's two different, connections there, but we don't have time to go through all of that. I told you about the divine clues. Now I'm going to tell you about the divine cue. Okay. The divine cue is basically something that elicits an emotion from a person for them to want to do something. Okay. And so we need some things to inspire us. And also too, this inspiration or this interconnection that we have with the divine would allow us to be able to make some right choices and to guide us along our path in the way that we need to go. And one of the things that we want to make sure is that we're in proper alignment. We want to make sure that we stay in a proper alignment with that guidance, because sometimes we can be guided, but then our alignment can be off and we can end up going astray, right? But the inspiration here that inspired him, this was a divine cue. The cue here is that Yisrael, by him seeing the sons of Yosef and seeing Yosef again, it inspired him. Prior to this, he didn't have a clue about, who was it, who was going to, who is going to be the person that I'm going to give this to, because his oldest son, had already betrayed him, Reuven, and we see that, hey, he didn't forget about him, did he? When he began to talk to him, he mentioned everything that he did to him. So that was years and years and years. It's like, how many years? Like 30, 40 years later, he still mentioned to him what his fault was. He told him the truth about himself, which you and I are going to get into a second. So here he says, I never expected, meaning that word expected is a word called palal. And palal means to literally pray and intercede. He said, I never really prayed to see you, even see you again, right? It's not that I never expected. I never prayed. I never interceded to see you again because he thought he was done. He said, but Elohim has allowed me to see your children too. For you and I, we need to be inspired by this because we need to understand that often you and I may not completely understand what's going on in our lives, but there's a purpose and there's a plan behind our lives. Okay. And when you and I fail to understand this, which is the palal, the interceding, which means to speak to authority. Okay. So the letter that pay right there is the mouth. And then, of course, the lamed, move this out the way. I'm spelling out this word right here in Hebrew. Okay. That letter right there is called a pay, and pay means a mouth. Okay. That's what it is. And here's the opening of the mouth going inside. Okay. That's the first letter. The next letter is the lamed. Okay. And that really means to be a shepherd staff. Okay. Or authority. So what he's literally to, when I say pray, or to intercede, what he's saying is speak. Speak to authority. So he didn't make an intercession because he thought it was over. Okay. Often you and I don't know what Yah was going to do. You and I don't even have a clue about what Yah was going to do. He didn't understand that the Most High was going to allow him to see Yosef and to see his children. When he saw Yosef, he became alive again, like it says in the text. His spirit became alive. Prior to that, he was just walked like a dead man walking. He had really no purpose. He had no desire to even live. It's like, now I can die. Now I've seen my son. My son's alive. I can die now. He had no desire to live because everything in his life was so bad. Okay. When he saw his sons, okay, because he did see him before him losing his sight, he found out what their names were. And that whole time that he was there, he was studying them and he was observing things. He wasn't just laying in the bed. He was observing. He was, keeping his mind open to these things. And that is what gave him the inspiration to say, okay, now it's time for me. I'm about to leave the earth. I want to leave my blessing. And this is what inspired his blessing, is seeing Yosef and seeing his sons, his children. I saw your Zerakah too. I saw them. And their names mean to forget and also want to what? To be fruitful. So that gave him some inspiration. And because of this inspiration, he understood that now it's time for that inspiration to guide me. I'm guided by this inspiration now. The inspiration is, and then he mentions what Elohim has done. He says, Elohim, in whose presence my fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, lived. That word there is walked. They walked in the presence of the Most High. And I'm going to tell you about how they walked in his presence. And he says, Elohim, who has been my own shepherd all of my life, right? Long to this day, all my life long to this day, the Malach who has rescued me from all harm. Bless these boys. That's who he's asking to confer the blessing on. You have the word shepherd there, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. The guidance here is that he's always been guided by Yah. No matter what he went through, he was always guided by the Most High. Okay. This is prior to him becoming the great nation as he is today. Okay. This should be inspirational for you and I. We should understand that Yahweh is definitely guiding us and he's shepherding us. That's what he's doing. Okay. And he's shepherding us in a way that allows us to recognize it. Okay. And what do I mean by that? There's several different ways on how one is to be shepherded or shepherded. Okay. Right now, while we're in the lands of our enemies, we don't literally have a representative as a shepherd for us. We don't. I'll be clear with you. I'm not your shepherd. I would love to be your shepherd, but I'm not your shepherd. Because if I was your shepherd, all of you would be living in safety. All of you would be rescued. All of you would have everything. You'd be at peace. You'd be at rest. That's what it would be, because I understand what shepherding really means. That's what it means. It means that the Most High is there with us and he's guiding us. He says, in whose presence my fathers walked. They lived. They lived in his presence. Okay. They caused themselves to live in his presence. Right. They were not in exile. So we don't need to take this and spiritualize it and say that you and I are in a situation that they're in. He's talking about his experience. Okay. Our experience is a little bit different, and I'm going to continue to explain to you. Okay. It said that he rescued me from all harm. That's what he did. That was viable. That was tangible. That was recognized. That was seen. Even when he went through the lands, the people were afraid of him. He didn't let anybody outdo him. He took care of him. All these things, like he did for Abraham. Abraham wasn't defeated. Yitzchak wasn't defeated. Yaakov wasn't defeated. There's a lot of bad stuff that happened to him, but he wasn't defeated. You understand? So when it talks about this actual rescuing, it's not spiritual. It's physical. When he talks about shepherding him, it's spiritual and physical. Okay? The alignment piece here is what I thought was very interesting. It says, may they remember my name. May they remember my name, because this is what the divine cue is to inspire, to guide in order for us to get in alignment. And what he's saying is he wanted Manasseh and Ephraim to remember his name. It says that they remember who I am and what I stand for. That's what's in English. In the Hebrew, it's talking about remembering his name. That means his reputation, which of course, that's what they said, who I am and what I stand for. Right? So I want them to remember my name, and likewise my fathers, Abraham and Yitzchak. I want them to remember that. Right? And who they were and what they stood for. Really, again, it doesn't say all that. It just says in their names, which is their reputation. And may they grow into teeming multitudes on the earth. That's the whole purpose. But the alignment piece is understanding his name and their names. So when we ask, well, what was their reputation? What were they known for? Well, They were named and remembered for their behavior about what they did. And that what they did is called hit halaku. Okay, the hit halaku is saying that they've caused themselves to live and walk before the Most High. Again, I highlighted this, which is the reversal of our word call. Just reverse the letters. Okay, so taming is walking. So what they did was they were prepared in their walk in their lives. They prepared themselves to be able to, and they caused themselves to walk with the Most High. This is not an ordinary walk. This is something that they did on themselves. That's what these two letters right here are. Heat, right here. That's reflexive. The action is a verb, but it's a verb that's being done on oneself, that are causing oneself to do. Like you're causing yourself to speak. No one's forcing me to do this. I'm doing it right now. Okay. If I had to brush my hair, no one's brushing my hair. I'm causing myself to brush my own hair. I'm doing the action to myself. If I'm scratching my leg, I'm doing that to myself. No one else is doing that. This is important for us to understand. Okay. So when he's talking about this alignment and this guidance about what he wants them to remember, what he's saying is that they have to understand that this is who I am. This is who I really am. My life was consistent of guidance. And I chose, that's that reflexive, I chose to walk. All of us. Abraham chose to walk with the Most High with no problem. Yitzchak chose to walk with the Most High with no problem. And I chose to walk with the Most High with no problem. We weren't in reluctance. We weren't resistant. We weren't trying to figure out how to circumvent what we were instructed to do. When he told Yaakov to go to Mizraim, he went to Mizraim. When he told Abraham to leave his land, he left his land. When he told Yitzchak to stay in the land of Gergar, he stood in that land. Don't go to Mizraim. He stayed. He did what he was told to. They listened to the instructions. So even though you and I have the power to do things on ourselves, you have to make sure that it's in an alignment with the guidance of the Most High. That's what you and I are supposed to take from this. That's the example. This is what we have. This is the divine cue. This is what should inspire us, is how they lived and what did they do. If you and I want to achieve the success or the call that our fathers have had and be able to discriminate and be able to use wisdom, knowledge, and understanding and to be prudent about our decisions, not willing to take any risks that are unnecessary so we can have the outcomes that we're looking for. You understand? Now, speaking to the blessing of Israel, we've been focused on what he's done for Ephraim and Manasseh through their father Yosef, right? I would like to say to you that often people think that when he spoke to Reuven and he spoke to Shimon and Levi and the rest of his sons, that some of those things were very harsh because he brought up their past. He brought their past up to them. And they say that that's not a blessing, it's actually a curse. No, 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 no. You and I need to use the call. We need to use wisdom and prudence and understanding. You understand? We need to really look at this. Do you not know by him telling them what their faults are, that is the blessing? That is the blessing. When it says he blessed his sons and he said, come and so I can bless you, he blessed them. You and I have been trained, going back to our word call. Call doesn't mean only to tame, it means to train. We've been tamed and trained to think that a blessing is always something that it could be beautiful and flowery and it won't hurt nobody's feelings. The blessing is, I'm going to tell you what you've done and what you did, how you did it, and why you shouldn't do it. And what is the effect of what you've done. So when he tells Reuven that, hey, you're weak as water and you're going to be overwhelmed and you were my strength, but you're not. He's not saying that to hurt his feelings. He's giving him a gift. He's telling him what's going to happen to you in the last days in the Akarit Hamayim. Your behaviors that you have done will affect you. As a father speaking to his children, he's saying these things are going to affect you. The ability for you not to have any self-control, Reuven, and this sexual misconduct is going to cause you problems. He didn't rebuke him because he hated him. He loved him. And a blessing means to hand somebody a gift. Hand somebody a gift. The gift is, I'm trying to tell you what your problem is so you can correct it. So you can always keep it in mind. If that's something you're dealing with, you need to be on notice about it. The Most High is telling us what your problems are. You and I need to be more available and open to stop calling it a curse and stop saying that it's him, he's angry with, he's trying to hurt our feelings. Who else is better yet to tell us the truth about ourselves? Who do you want to tell it to you? Nobody else is going to tell it to you. Who's going to be honest? Who's going to give you the emet? Who's going to give you the truth that can help you solve some of these issues and problems? Who's going to give you the divine clues and cues so you can live the better life and the best life? How you can hedge off these problems. It's like looking at a plant and knowing that it has a problem and sitting there ignoring it and think just because it's growing that it's going to be okay. Because you don't want to hear the truth. We don't like to say that we're guilty. We don't like to say the fact that we have problems. We don't like to admit that we've made mistakes. And that's our problem. So when he's talking to him, he is giving him a blessing. He gave him the best gift he could ever gave him. He gave him something more valuable than gold and silver and land and everything. He told him the truth. And that's what you and I need to be looking for. We've been trained to think blessings are always something that we would consider to be good from our perspective, how you and I see it, versus what the Most High, how he sees it. And not only let's stop putting on the Most High, how the individual that knows you sees it. You can't even tell your children the truth about themselves because their feelings get so hurt that all of a sudden they stop talking to you. They don't want to have nothing to do with you no more because you tell them the truth. That's what's going on right now. I won't speak to you anymore. You tell somebody the truth, they stop calling you. You stop telling the truth, you tell them the truth, it's over. You have no more friends, no more. You bring something to somebody's attention, don't have nothing to do with you. You see? This is the problem. Dealing with blessing. He also told Shimon and Levi. I don't have a slide for it, but you know what it is. He said that they were cruel. And he said that what they did was wrong and how they killed men and how they went into a city and they killed people and they even took an ox and they cut his hamstring so it couldn't walk and they rejoiced and they enjoyed seeing something crippled. And they did that when they were kids. And he brought it up. Why did he bring it up? Because I'm going to give you the blessing. I'm going to give you a gift and tell you what your problem is. He was so disappointed in their behavior that he said that, hey, I don't even want my soul to dwell within your gates because of how you guys are. He did them a favor. So we're to learn that all because the Most High is bringing out the truth about us, or all because our parents are bringing out the truth about us, or all because your boss at your job is telling you the truth about you, or your wife is telling you the truth about you, that something you did, or your husband is telling you something that you did, now they're the enemy because they're telling you the truth. You don't even see it as a blessing. You see it as a curse. And that's because you and I lack sakal. We don't have any wisdom. We don't have any prudence. And because we don't have prudence and understanding, when it comes time for us to convey power and authority to someone else, we're going to make the wrong decision. You're going to give something to someone who's unworthy and doesn't deserve it because you lack sakal. The true shepherd. Thought this was fitting to talk about. The word Yesha, Yasha, and Yeshua, all of them mean the same thing: salvation. They're found in the word for shepherd. Okay. The word shepherd is roe. It's like, well, that doesn't sound like a shepherd. I hear no yeah, no yasha, no nothing. A shepherd is someone who's always looking out for the sheep. So when Yaakov has said that he's been shepherding my whole life, my parents, my fathers have walked in his presence. He's been protecting me from evil because that's what a shepherd does. He protects me. I've been at rest. Nothing's overcome me. My enemies haven't overtaken me. You and I need to understand what a true shepherd is. Okay. I know spiritually, you and I would like to think that, that the Most High is shepherding us. I'm not saying that Yah's not your shepherd. I'm not saying that because he says I'm your shepherd. Just like he says that I'm your king. But is Yah, is there recognition of that? Are we going up to Jerusalem to proclaim that he's a king? No. Yah is our deliverer. Has he delivered us? Yes. Has he delivered us in the past? Yes. He says, I'm your savior. Is he a savior? Yes, he's a savior. Is he a shepherd? Yes, he's a shepherd. He's everything that he says he is. Is he a master? Yes, he is. But one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to miss the forest for the trees. We don't want to say something that's not necessarily true at this time. We've gone over it before in the past where I said the Most High has showed us clearly that I am your Elohim and you're my people. Is he our Elohim? Yes, he is. Are we his people? Yes, we are. But in what context? So you and I haven't not been trained. So don't be too hard on yourself because you're finding out some new information. Paul means to be tamed and trained. And that's what's going on right now. Remember the palm and the staff. That is the one who is taming. The shepherd is the one who is taming and bringing the sheep to their safety, their deliverance, and their healing. So you want to ask yourself, this is a question that I'm not going to answer. I want you to ask yourself, is this true? Is Yahweh shepherding you right now? This is a question that you're going to have to ask yourself and be honest and tell the truth. I get this idea from our meditation this week, which talks about whoever offers thanksgiving, which is Todah, which is to say Todah to the Most High, as his sacrifice honors me. And to him who goes the right way, I will show the salvation, the Yesha of Elohim. Case in point, that what the Most High is doing in this in particular chapter is talking about judging his people. And he says how he's going to come. He's coming with fire from the heavens and he's going to burn up everybody and he's going to judge his people. You can read the chapter. He's telling exactly how it's going to go. He also mentions the people that love him and he talks about the people that are wicked. And he talks about, who are the people making offerings to him, right? And he says, look, I'm not rebuking you for your offerings, right? I'm not mad at you because this is how we've had our relationship is based on offerings. So this is where he says, whoever offers thanksgiving, whoever says Todah to me, right, who gives me honor, that's a sacrifice to me. I'll take that. Okay. And to him who goes the right way is to be on the path, and that is the divine path, right? Whoever's going on the divine path that the Most High is the shepherd on, that's the one that he's going to show his salvation, which is his Yesha. That's when he's going to be a Yeshua to you. Okay. The New Testament has taken his word Yeshua and made it into a person. So you can say that Elohim has saved you. Okay. So you're thinking that you have salvation, and this is what you've been taught. This is what someone did with you. They put a staff in their hand and they came and they trained you and they made you ready for that in particular deliverance. That's not the deliverance that the Most High is giving unto us. Okay. So the true shepherd is inspired by the fact that I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you salvation. The only one who can show you salvation is the one who's protecting you. Okay. So salvation is deliverance, it's prosperity. That's what salvation is. Okay. So if you and I are saying that we're saved and we're saying that we have been, guided to safety and we've been saved, and you and I should live in safety and we should live in healing and we should live in deliverance. And we should have someone who rescues us. And we should live in what they would call peace and rest. So you have to ask yourself, are you in safety? The Most High says this, that here's what Yahweh Elohim says. I'm taking over. I will search for my sheep and look after them myself. Okay. Sometimes we take these one-liners out of the scripture and we create a whole nother doctrine and teaching on it. So when you just look at this, you would say, yeah, Yahweh's our shepherd right now. He said, I'm going to take over. I'm taking over. So there's no one else who's going to be our shepherd, according to this text. Okay. I'm going to search for them myself. They're my sheep. I'm going to do it myself. Okay. I'm going to look after them myself. I'm going to look after them. Listen to what the word said. I'm going to search for them. I will, future tense. Okay. I will search for my sheep and look after them myself. Okay. So this is what a shepherd does. Because Yah, in this context, has gotten rid of all the shepherds because they weren't healing the people. They weren't feeding the people. They weren't doing what he asked them to do. They weren't teaching the people, just like you have today. Okay. So the healing part is the idea that he says, yes, I will pasture my sheep. Again, a future tense talking about I will. Again, I will. Okay. I'm going to pasture my sheep. And so the question you would ask yourself is, okay, because you got people out here calling themselves pastors. So they're the ones who are pasturing the sheep. So they might say that they're under shepherd. And they can say that. That's not a problem. I'm not saying that I'm a pastor. I'm not a pastor and I'm not a shepherd. People may want to call me that, but I'm not. Okay. And the reason why I know that I'm not is because I'm not doing what the Most High said that he would do. See? So the Most High is not going to put anyone in charge of the sheep to not be able to perform what he wants them to do. I hope you're following what I'm saying. Okay. I will pasture my sheep. And where is he going to pasture them at? I don't know. Let's find out. And I will, what else is he going to do? I will let them rest. So the question is, are you and I resting? Some people would say, yes, spiritually. Yes, spiritually, I'm at rest. I'm at rest in the Messiah. I'm at rest in Yeshua. I'm at rest. I have nothing to worry about. Great. Then the next question would be, I will seek the lost. That's the future tense. And bring back the outcast. Bandage the broken and strengthen the sick. So the questions here are you lost? Are you an outcast? Are you broken? And are you sick? And the answer to this is whatever you want it to be. So you got to choose. I can't tell you because ultimately we all have our own opinions. You say, well, you kind of bound out of that, Akika. No, I'm not going to answer this for you. I'm not you. I'm not going to answer for you right now whether or not you're at rest. I'm not going to answer if you lost. I'm not going to answer for you, are you being pastured in the land that he said? See? Because often we like to tell people what they are versus letting them have their own experience. You need to have some call for yourself. You need to see, am I broken? Am I sick? Because I have people that tell me all the time, well, I'm not broken. I got money. I'm not sick. I'm good. I'm not lost. What are you talking about lost? I'm saved. I'm at rest. What are you talking about? I'm not an outcast. I've been delivered from my sins. And they really believe this. But the fact of the matter is this is what Yahweh says he will do. I will do this. I will do this. I will bring them back. I'm going to bandage them. So if he says I will, that means that it hasn't happened yet. Okay. That means that this is the condition of those who understand it and have accepted it. If I look at myself as a lost, outcast, broken, sick, then I know that I need a shepherd to heal me, to bring me to a place of rest. I know for myself, I'll speak for myself, I'm not in a place that's at peace and rest. I know for sure that I'm an outcast, and I know that by the experiences that I have. I know that as a people, okay, I'm joined to a people that are sick and that are broken. I know that, okay. He says, but the fat and the strong, I will destroy. That's in the future tense too. There's individuals, again, who are fat and who are strong. And what he's talking about is how they see themselves. This is how they see themselves. So they don't see themselves as broken. That's why I couldn't answer the question. He said, I'm going to feed them with judgment because they don't see themselves as being sick and broken. They don't see themselves as not being at rest. So the ones who are doing well, that are fat and that are strong and they don't need to be strengthened, those are the ones he said, I'm going to destroy. So he's telling us here that if you say that you're fat and you say that you're strong, because only the fat and the strong are the ones who are eating up everything and everything's going good for them. Those are the ones who already have a shepherd because they're fat and they're strong. That means someone is feeding them. Because they say, but those who say that they are, because he says, if you read this chapter, it says there are those who are doing this, who are causing themselves to be fat and strong. I'm going to destroy them. So now you have to make your decision. You have to ask yourself the question, am I this one? Or am I the strong and the fat? Most High is not forcing you to make this decision. Only you know if you're fat and strong. You know that, you see? So I brought this out to give us a better understanding. The Most High is our shepherd. And the sheep that he's looking for and that he's coming to get are the ones that are lost and the ones that are outcast and the ones that are broken and the ones that need to be healed. When we say that we're not broken, we're not lost, we're not an outcast, and we're not sick, then you're saying you're the other one. You're the fat and you're the strong. And you are the one that he says, I will destroy. Why? Because he's not your shepherd. See? Yah's sheep are broken. Yah's sheep need help. Yah's sheep are being devoured. They're prey. And this is what he's saying he needs to deliver us from. So until he delivers us from this, you and I are subject to being mistreated, in which you can see today. So there is no Yesha, there is no Yasha, and there is no Yeshua. Not right now. I will show that to you on the day of judgment. That's how that's connected. So let me be clear. Yah is a shepherd. And if Yah is our shepherd, then you and I, and if he was shepherding us the way we want, that he wants, not the way we want, the way he wants it, we would be feeding in his pasture. We would be resting in the place that he set for us. So you say, well, what about David? David said that Yahweh Roi, you're my shepherd, I shall not want. You're making me to lie down in green pastures, leading me beside the still waters. Yeah, we turned around and we've been taught that so we can spiritualize it instead of actually looking for the reality of it. And that's because we've been given improper training and we've been misguided and therefore we're out of alignment. Okay. So I'm not trying to hurt our feelings. I'm just trying to tell us the truth, the emet. Okay. I want you to be certain about it. You want to be certain about your safety. Okay. Conclusion. And now, Israel, what does Yahweh your Elohim at? What is he asking of you? What is he asking of you? He's telling you right now what he's asking. Only this. It says to revere, which is to fear Yahweh your Elohim. He's asking you to walk, okay? Only in divine paths, to love, to serve Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart. And of course, you know that all is called as a tamed heart and tamed mind and tamed soul, going back to the Shema of Yisrael. Everything that he's asking for right here, everyone, is in what they call it an infinitive, meaning always. It's not just to love when you feel like it, it's always loving. It's not to serve only, it's always to serve. So this was something that was mentioned to our ancestors. And this is what he's been asking of them. Okay. This is what he's been asking of them. Now, you say, well, why are you bringing this up? Because, I was talking to them in Deuteronomy chapter number 10, verse number 12. You and I are descendants of these individuals. Yahweh wants to make clear to us that there's a path that I want you to follow. I want you to have divine inspiration. And the only way you can get that is by fearing Yahweh. The only way we can receive this is by walking in his ways. All of Yah's paths are divine. They're not, whatever it is we want to make them. It's different for us. And this is the challenge for us because we don't know how to properly do this. And therefore, this is the reason why he provides us with the call. I provide you with the training through the Torah portions. And then you have these experiences. And so when you get ready to die, because you will, you'll be able to use Sakal when you're making your decisions and who you're putting in charge of your affairs. And you'll understand that your whole purpose is to make sure that you convey the proper authority to the next generation and tell them what thus saith Yah. If you don't have any children, you'll just be gathered back to your people. If you don't have any sons, you have no one to commission, that's completely okay. Not a worries. Because every individual belongs to the Most High. But let me tell you something. You're not going to leave this world like our Father without being mistreated. You're not going to leave this world without people hating you. You're not going to leave this world with people who have never said sorry for the things that they did to you. You're not going to leave this world unscathed. So get used to that. Understand what that means. If our Father experienced that with his sons, they lied to him about their brother. One of his sons, messed with his wife on several occasions, not just once. His other sons killed a whole bunch of people, brought problems to the family. His daughter got raped, his wives died. His brother was trying to hurt him and kill him. His uncle mistreated him. All these things. You're not going to leave here without being done dirty. That's just what it is. But it doesn't mean that you and I cannot leave here and take our last breath after speaking words that were full of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And all you're getting, get that. You understand? This is our weekly study. I put this Psalms 51 verse up here because it kind of rubbed me the right way, not the wrong way. It rubbed me the right way. The term is that it says the sacrifice, it says my sacrifice. It says my sacrifice, meaning one, it really is supposed to say sacrifices. Okay. It's not just one. Another mistranslation is sacrifices is a broken spirit to Elohim and a spurned and broken, chastened heart, right? Said you won't reject. But let me tell you something about this. This word broken on these two Ks here and this one here, chastened, basically means smashed. Okay. That's what it means. And of course, you know that your heart is your mind. So what this is you have to smash your mind over and over and over and over again. If a sacrifice you thought it was one time, it sacrifices. It's called Zivke. You can look it up. It's an S right there. So what David was saying is, just like the priest would continually bring a sacrifice to the Most High every morning and every evening, and they didn't let the fire go out in the Holy of Holies, and they had the menorah lit, and they had the incense going, and they had the, you know, the olah, the burnt offering was sizzling on the the grill outside, and the smoke was ascending. There was always something going, right? Always. Dawid is saying that when you and I get into a relationship with the Most High is expecting sacrifices. As we were taught earlier today, that one of the sacrifices that he will receive is called Todah. So often people say, well, what sacrifices can you give while you're in exile? You can give the Most High thanksgiving. You can make that offering to the Most High. You can tell him, thank you. Thank you for what? Thank you for the Torah. Thank you for what? Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your kindness. Okay. In spite of us being in our exile, we're just certain things we cannot do, and there's things we can do. So the things that we can do, we should do. So it's not my sacrifice, it's my sacrifices to Elohim. In this brokenness, in all these instances right here, is a smashing, but not one time. It's a continual smashing. Just like the sacrifice were continual, this sacrifice has to be continued. So you're going to have to always break your spirit, always smash and break your mind. Always. Like you would be taking a piece of lavona, which is called frankincense, and grinding it down to powder, to the finest powder that you can, to make a sacrifice to the Most High. You understand? That's what you and I have to do. That's what you and I have to do. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm going to force you to. I can't do that. You can only do this if you want to do it. How about that? If you want to give him a sacrifice, if you want your sacrifice to be meaningful, then let's sacrifice this. How do you sacrifice your spirit? It's their wind. That's what Ruach is. It's a wind, and use the wind as your breath. What comes from your breath? What do you use the breath for? Huh? Use it for your words. Before you offer anything of your words to the Most High, you and I need to smash them in a forceful way and make sure that there's nothing in them that's offensive to the Most High. You need to smash your mind, which is your thoughts. You need to carefully use wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to be circumspect and to be very cautious about what your thoughts are. So our sacrifices are from our mouths and from our minds. That's what the Most High won't reject.